Coming up today on Locked On at Texas Tech, it's a National Signing Day party, which could include more offensive line help coming around the bend, and also a new series, Home and Home, for Grant McCasland and the Red Raider basketball team, sure to get the blood pumping. Next on Locked On Texas Tech.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We're going to start this thing off right. Raider! Everything runs through Lubbock.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 back if your team wins. So visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Thanks for joining us once again. Great to see you, Chris. We've got a whole lot to get into, and it is once again a fast and furious kind of day for sort of a different reason, as we welcome you to National Signing Day. What once was referred to as Early Signing Day, we've talked about this week, has become de facto main event status as far as bringing a new class to campus. So we're getting to that. Also getting to the latest from the transfer portal and some significant news on the hardwood as far as a series renewed in-state with the Aggies of Texas A&M. We'll get to coming up in just a bit. But back to National Signing Day, Chris, I think what a list of around 20 we've already, I guess, got listed or we know about. And whether or not we'll have other surprises that will come to pass here today as we sit here early this morning having this conversation. The fax machine wires are already burning up, and I don't know if there's ever too many fax machine jokes or puns to be made, but we'll probably figure out if we hit that limit here on today's episode. But an exciting time because it's another go-round where you see Texas Tech really recruiting in a different kind of company or category than they have over the previous decade. That was one thing that showed up very quickly whenever Joey McGuire arrived on campus. And maybe the best class yet in the short time that we've had within the McGuire era.
Yeah, it's like the Seinfeld episode where Kramer he subscribes to all the menu, the menu service, they just the restaurants are faxing the menus every 2 minutes. That horrible that sound that it makes when it connects, and it there you go. So hopefully that's what's going on at the Red Raider football offices this morning, or actually there are no offices. They're up in the. They're up in the press box of Jones AT&T Stadium or near there. You're expected to sign about. So here's some bullet points here. You're expected to sign. I think it's about 20 to 21-ish players. There's always like he's not going to be eligible. Hey, he's going to wait until the late period. There's always could be a hiccup with one. Ish guy at times, it seems like. I think 11 to 12, somewhere in that number are expected to be here early. There were conversations with some of these prospects because they want you in early, okay, period. The exceptions are if you can go win a state championship or really you're a really good hooper, on the like from a track standpoint, maybe a really good baseball player, they will like, hey man, we get it. Go try to win a state championship. Like Marcus Ramon Edwards last year at Trinity, they won a state championship, and so he didn't enroll early. There's a couple others that were track guys that were on the 4x100 relay team or whatever it may be. Other than that, though, they want you in here early. I can't even impress upon people how different it is being an early enrollee versus like a normal one, and how different your career begins, or what advantages you give yourself from a nutrition, education, just learning scheme. I mean, all the things. It's a must. But you're expected to sign here today what could be the best class in the Big 12 and I'm talking the new Big 12 now, not factoring in Texas and Oklahoma, and I am factoring in the 4 new additions. But I think, from a high school standpoint, I think Tech and Central Florida we'll see how it shakes out, but they're right there kind of neck and neck for like 1 and 2 as far as recruiting class rankings. And again, people can go, this stuff doesn't matter. Wake me up when they show up and play. I get all that, but it does matter at some level, because when Georgia and Alabama and Ohio State are tops in the recruiting rankings every year, and they're the ones playing in the playoff or for national championships every year, there's a direct correlation.
Yeah, here's one of my approaches to a National Signing Day. If you're ranked 10th out of 14 or whatever in the Big 12 conference, it doesn't matter that much. Wake me up whenever they're running out of the tunnel. If you are potentially number 1 in the Big 12 conference, let's hammer it, baby. Let's celebrate what we've got to celebrate. And as far as the early enrollees and things like that, I'm glad that you're emphasizing that, because it is, I don't know if it's night and day, but not only for those individuals, a big difference, but also a lot different from what we used to experience in your previous decades of covering this thing. It's like, oh, well, here's like 1 or 2 or maybe 1 early enrollee.
Oh, they were. Yeah. It was
few and far between, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, now, see, and everybody's talking about the calendar and what do we do to fix all this? Well, this is it's almost like you need the portal recruiting season and early signing day to be different. You almost wish you could go back to the way it was and not have an early signing day for high school kids and put it in 1st of February, and then just do all your portaling in late November, December, right? Yeah. However, partly why you can't really do that is because of the early enrollee process. And that this is just normal now. I mean, most classes, it's half, if not over half, of your recruiting classes are guys that are with you in the spring and all those things. So anyway, but you're expected to ink a top class. It's going to be top 20 to 25 in the country, but I think right now it's going to be 1st or 2nd in the Big 12 based on the rivals.com stuff. And again, it's subjective. It's people will get, they'll lose a guy, maybe add a guy. It'll kind of, fluctuate as the day goes along, and then they'll put a bow on it as the day goes on. But it's kind of like these are kind of like the Major League Baseball draft. I don't get near as excited about the Major League Baseball draft. I'm a Ranger fan. Okay. Calvin, you are too. Yeah. I think that's the one, like NBA, NFL. No, you're coming to play with daddy immediately. Like we need you on the field or on the court, like right away, baby. And if you're not, we failed at a draft. Major League Baseball, we got to put them in the oven. We got to let them bake. We got to stick that toothpick in there and make sure there's no batter, coming out on the toothpick before we send you out there. But you do get Josh Youngs in your draft on occasion, and they get fast tracked. This is what Texas Tech will do today with Micah Hudson. Micah Hudson will be an immediate impact guy. This is one of the top 10 players in the country, regardless of position. He is one of very few 5-stars, and what a 5-star ranking basically equates, what most recruiting services do, and I've been with rivals.com since, 2002, I guess, is that when they attach a 5-star ranking to a prospect, basically what they're saying is, we're essentially close to guaranteeing that this is not only an NFL player, but he's somebody that we think will succeed at the NFL level, and so again, they've missed before. Guys don't work out, but no, this is what you're dealing with here. This is a guy that should help and help right away. And with recruiting classes, though, that's the other baseball analogy. Nowadays, you just hope you can hold on to this recruiting class and you don't have to trade a bunch of prospects for a third baseman at the trade deadline or something. You're hoping that you can hold on to these guys and grow them up. That's really the goal here, and not have to portal so much, ideally. But this is what will go on today.
Fax machine impression, baking insight. You think you know what's going to happen on this show? Think again. I'm on the show, and I'm shocked and surprised pleasantly by both of those things. I saw this note, Chris, and I was just curious what you thought about it. I saw this from Rivals for the first time in Rivals history, and this includes Micah Hudson and Texas Tech. The top 10 recruits, as they rate them, committed to 10 different schools has never happened. And so there was some fear, and maybe it's still, justified that, boy, the rich will just get richer in the NIL era, and you're only going to have this further consolidated as far as elite talent is concerned. And I know not every person on the list, probably made their decision only based on NIL or something like that. But some would use that to make the argument that, no, it's actually spread it around a little bit more. And I thought that was really interesting, particularly given the fact, of course, again, Texas Tech is included there in those 10 with Micah Hudson.
Yeah, and that speaks to what kind of big time player this kid is to be in that kind of ranking and all that. But yeah, you're right. I think it if anything, it's spread the wealth of literally, of talent. And yeah, look, I mean, Bama is still playing for the playoff this year. Obviously, Texas is. Michigan is. So there's not a lot of newbies that have upset the apple cart, but typically your 5 stars would sign with maybe 5 to 7 schools. They'd get them all. And now the fact that it's 10 different, I think is pretty fascinating. And I think several people have made a big deal about that because again, it doesn't guarantee anything. You have to be careful of the label. Micah Hudson is going to hear, and we're all going to use the 5-star like brand or label from now until he leaves here. Yeah. And it's somewhat unfair in that there's immediate expectation that comes with that. But they are so rare. I mean, Rivals gives, I want to say 15 to 22-ish, players with that label every year. Sometimes I think it's more or less, but it's in the 15 to 25 to 30 range. And when you think about how many football players are going to sign and all those things, it's, and how many positions there are, it's rare. But I think to spread it out a bit across the country, I think it's kind of fascinating in that they'll all ink with different schools, the top 10 will.
Okay, let's get back now. We'll stay in sort of a recruiting realm, but let's get back to speaking into existence some more offensive line help. First, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Heat up the action and keep the sports flames stoked this winter with America's #1 sportsbook and the official sportsbook of Locked On. There's nothing nicer than cuddling up by the warmth of a nice prop bet or a player parlay. And if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action with their safe, secure, and easy-to-use app where it's all at your fingertips. And of course, when you win with FanDuel, you're always paid instantly. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 back if your team wins. You'd be a fool not to take a bite out of that apple. So get to FanDuel.com/lockedon and sign up today for your shot at $150 in bonus bets with any $5 money line bet that hits with FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. To speaking into existence some more offensive line help. This is basically what happened yesterday, so pat yourself on the back, Chris. We've got to talk about it, and then we get some news cooking. First, it was in the form of a transfer, that being Sterling Porcher coming from Middle Tennessee. And I don't know exactly if we're done, close to done. Is it? I know we've talked about 2 or 3, so is there 1 more in the wind, 2 more in the wind? But this guy goes 6'4", a little over 300 pounds. Looked like he had some notable suitors as well that you fended off for his services. And I got to say, at the end of the day, if you're just getting some offensive line news, I'm considering that a good thing at this point in time. As we continue to get a little antsy as fans, wondering when we get some of that. So, what'd you make of the Porcher decision?
Yeah, so this is definitely he's one of your. I think he's going to be in line to be a starter at tackle for you to go along with your other 2, interior linemen. And so, I think Arizona State, Baylor, Syracuse. I mean, I'm trying to remember all the ones that had offered Porcher, but the most, if you'll allow me to kind of expand a bit. I think that, they are on the cusp of more offensive line news because you theoretically right now with one more right addition, again, it's going to be easy for us just to go, okay, well, this is what it's going to look like, and it's going to have to sort itself out and all that. But you are one more addition away from basically adding 4 starters to your offensive line and then putting them with Caleb Rogers. Now, Ty Buchanan may have some say-so in that. Matt Keeler may have some say-so in that. Caden Carr may have some say-so in that. Dalton Merriman may have some say-so in that and all that. But you could be adding, more. Keep your head on a swivel. Today is signing day, because I think a lot of rumor about Maurice Rodriguez from Saddleback Community College. He's an LA kid, and we're talking – he's not a totally finished, perfect product right now. You're going to have to coach the JUCO out of him, if you know what I mean. But we're talking Georgia offer, USC offer, UCLA offer, Florida offer. Visited some of these places in recent weeks, has been to Texas Tech. You're not beating many of these teams or programs for prospects in a lot of cases, or you haven't. And, we'll see if he puts pen to paper today. By the time you hear this, listen to this, that news may be out. But again, if that's what comes down the pike for the Red Raiders, he's a left tackle. That's what he is. He's about 6'6", 325. And so I think that a lot of rumor there that he could be jumping on board. So we'll see kind of what that looks like. But if that's the case, you've done well here. It's not all of a sudden a finished product like here. Okay, here we go. We're all set. Now you're gonna have to coach them up, mesh them, and all those things. But boy, you've got it would be a completely new room.
And if you're coming from the JUCO ranks, then a national letter of intent is signed, and that's a little different than a transfer announcement, right? A little more binding, I guess.
Yes. He I believe if once he signs somewhere, he's bound to that. And he would be a December grad, so he would be on campus and all those things. But I think that he would be locked in with that with the NLI. Boy, that NIL-NLI deal is going to just be like, come on, man, what are we doing?
Somebody's got a sick sense of humor trying to trip up us precious podcast hosts. Let's, just hypothetically. So if you were able to get some good news from Rodriguez, I guess, is that 4 offensive linemen? You got a couple interior. That'd be a couple on the outside, given the most recent with Porcher, and hopefully this goes the right way with Rodriguez. But I know it's kind of hard to say, well, okay, that's the cap or it's done, especially given the fact that you've got movement in and out still potentially with the transfer guys. But I guess your offensive line bucket would be getting close to full, wouldn't it, if you were able to bring him on?
Yeah, I think we ought to be careful about talking in absolutes there about being done with anything, because as soon as you think you're done, somebody's like, man, I think I've reconsidered. And then you're like, well, okay, boys, back to the old chalkboard, and you just go to the next guy on the list or whatever. I don't, so have to be careful about that. But yeah, I think ideally, if there weren't any more movement, you would be like, okay, I think we're good. But you can't really operate that way. You're gonna have to hold on to these guys, and all that. But yeah, you would have added 4 pieces. You would have lost some too. Monroe Mills goes to Louisville. We're still waiting to see what Jacoby Jackson's going to do. Obviously, Landon Peterson, Seth Martin are gone, so it's kind of one out, one in type scenario. So you would have been a 4 for 4 there. And I could be wrong, and I may be wrong here, but I just maybe Jacoby Jackson will go, you know what? I liked what I had here. I'm gonna come back. But who the heck knows? I kind of mentioned that about Monroe Mills, maybe about Jaden York. There's still needs there for you. I think that Jacoby would have been allowed to compete throughout the spring and all those things. And I think that, again, he would have been the starter had he won the job, so at one of those guard spots. So we'll see, because I would love the depth. This is what you're looking for.
Oh, no doubt. And I think, you hit the offseason, you're like, okay, we want to make the offensive line better. So let's just go get better players, whatever that means. But I'm curious what you think about like a prototypical lineman for Joey McGuire and Stephen Hamby that they want out there. And I know obviously it's going to be different from tackle to guard to center, but I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm going to break down offensive line scheme or anything for you, but it kind of seemed like they were getting these guys on the move a little bit over the last couple of years as far as pulling out and getting out in space and things like that. And I just wondered, you think maybe we're headed towards maybe a little more nimble? I don't think an offensive lineman wants to be described as nimble, but a little more athletic potentially. Or what do you really think these guys look like measurable wise if you can just go create yours, I guess, in the lab?
Yeah, they want athletic, and they want you to have some insert bad word here about you. They want you to have that's the way Hamby played it. I mean, we all know that. I mean, you need to play it like you're a defensive player. You need to be able to maul people. You need to be athletic and get down. And when I hear you say athletic, I mean, there who fits that to a T is like way back in the day, like Manny Ramirez, man. Mm. I mean, Manny Ramirez was like, you throw a screen pass, Manny Ramirez is like 20 yards downfield. Like, oh, who else can I hit?
Right.
But he was athletic enough to be able to do it. And so, yeah, I think that that's what you're looking for. That's why, you see your two, your Memphis and your Toledo portal additions not being the biggest guys. These aren't 320, 330-pound guys, but you can pull them and you ran that counter stuff with Taj and all the pull in and movement that they do and get them on the move and all that, like you said. So, but you look at your young kids. That's how you ideally want to build. You want length. You want size. Joey's never going to waver from you went up front, and that's why there was so much emphasis. And it's not that it's all of a sudden just fixed. Even if you get Rodriguez, it's not like, okay, we're good. No, You got to coach them, develop them, motivate them, mesh them. It's a process, the whole thing. And this is basically just buying time for your young kids, back to that oven analogy, just to grow up a bit more and give them more time. And that's ideally what you're trying to do with the portal, is kind of bridge the gap between these signees that signed last year that will sign today to kind of grow up.
We'll leave that for now there, and hopefully you remain with your head on a swivel, because things will continue to happen as we roll through the day here. But an exciting day for Joey McGuire and the Red Raiders, as you really got some impactful pieces, you hope, within your signing day class, and maybe some more offensive line help coming via the JUCO ranks. And you never know what the transfer portal will hold for us on this hump day as well. So we'll be on the lookout for that. Also going to be on the lookout in the future for a new basketball series, home and home with the Aggies of Texas Agricultural and Mechanical University. First, today's episode brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. And if you've got a small business looking to hire new employees, you're hoping for the biggest pool of top-tier candidates possible. And that's exactly why you got to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn has all the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free, all on one easy-to-use and secure platform. And LinkedIn isn't just another job board. They've got a far-reaching network of more than 1 billion professionals, and hiring the best becomes easy when you have that many qualified candidates. So easy that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within only 24 hours. With all the hats you wear as a business owner, the time or resources to hire quality candidates can be hard to come by, but LinkedIn carries the load for you with the quick, easy, and intuitive process. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free today with LinkedIn Jobs. Terms and conditions apply. When you left Fort Worth, you were telling me that there was something maybe I'd be excited about in the win very soon, as far as a series for Grant McCaslin and the Red Raiders. I don't even know that this is what I anticipated necessarily, but I would have been excited for any quality home and home, series that you'd sign up for, because again, just as a fan, we're all wanting to see entertaining things in front of us. Very hard to come by, it seems like, within a basketball non-conference schedule. But man, this one's going to check the box regardless of what the teams are. I think fans will be excited to show up and yell at the Aggies again and kind of re-engage some of those muscles.
Yeah, I was sitting there at Dickey's Arena at shoot around, and Coach McCaslin was right in front of me, and I said, "Man, Coach, this building's awesome. Hope we can come back and play here again or yearly, whatever." And he said he looks over at me, and I've known Grant for 20, known of him. We've known each other and all that for 20 plus years and all that. And so he knew that I would appreciate what he was about to tell me, but he's like, we just signed because it's not out yet, but we signed a home and home with Texas A&M. And I'm like, do what? Like, say that again to me, and I think the plan is that, so let me just talk you through like the because the basketball, we talk about the bowl game calendar and the college football playoff being adjusted. Like November and December next year for us sports fans and college sports fans is going to look vastly different than what it did this year or what it's doing now. Your bowl game calendar is all going to get moved around and everything because there's going to be a round of playoffs before Christmas, and they get exclusive windows, I think. The NFL is already talking about ways to move their games around and all that. But the college basketball season for the Big 12 fan, and so we'll localize it here with Texas Tech. You're going to actually play. So keep in mind, this has been announced already, 20 conference games. Okay, so that changes it a bit. So you're going to be playing conference games in late December. That's just the way the calendar is going to work. It's going to spill into late December. Because you're doing that, like I think next year, it's been reported you're going to play the 2 games in Brooklyn the week before Thanksgiving. You'll have the Big East team that will come to play at your place in early December. And then A&M is going to come play the Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. But you'll have the 4 really kind of tough non-conference games, and then you'll have the 7 what they will call bye games or guarantee games that are home games, because those extra conference games are going to kind of spill into what you would normally do in the non-conference. So it's kind of an adjustment everywhere, but they felt so here's what my guess is going to be. You're going to play A&M on that Friday night after Thanksgiving. You're going to go to the Big 12, in my opinion, and you're going to say, because a lot of schools are like, we don't want a home game on Thanksgiving weekend. Texas Tech has been they've been in that conversation at times before. I think in this case, they're going to raise their hand and go, please give us a home game on Thanksgiving weekend so we can partner it up with this basketball game and give people a reason to kind of come and, when students aren't here or maybe gone, or maybe it'll give a chance for them to come back into town early, whatever it may be. But that's just when the dates worked. And if you could get A&M here on a Sunday morning or a Tuesday night or lunchtime someday, you were going to do it, and you're going to have to repay the favor. But I appreciate Buzz Williams and Texas A&M for willing to do a home and home with the Red Raiders here, because Grant was all about it.
Yeah, I think Texas Tech leading the all-time series 57-55, something along those lines. Very competitive series, and obviously you got to imagine that they're appreciating a program like Texas Tech, multi-time Sweet 16, Elite Eights, national runners up, helping out a basketball program that's just, I guess, trying to get their feet wet, or I don't know what they've had to be excited about. They even went to one of the worst basketball conferences in the country, and it's really just like the most exciting thing is, hey, Bubba got a new pair of overalls to wear to the gym. So I think it's nice of Texas Tech to help out kind of a poverty basketball program. But, hey, we do what we can, and maybe the fans can enjoy it as well. And I'll give the Aggies a little taste of what it used to be like whenever they played relevant basketball. I'm talking a lot right now, and we'll see what I'm saying after that final game comes to an end. But that's the lay of the land as we sit here today. And I got to tell you, Chris, I don't know, what pieces came together to make this one happen. And I hope I don't make too much of it, in the sense that it's got my, ears perked up about what else you might be able to make happen, again, on campus, because that's really, I'd love to play them anywhere. You can meet in Abilene or whatever and play this game, and it would be fun. But I guess the surprising thing to me was, you're going to get on each other's campuses, and that's something that is seemingly all too rare with whatever opponent.
And that's what's funny about the A&M thing is my relates to my conversation with Coach McCaslin. For years, there were people that were trying to put together an A&M Tech game at Dickies Arena in Fort Worth. You had been pitched that, I think, multiple times, and the dates wouldn't work, or it wouldn't work for one team or the other, or the arena or whatever. But yeah, there's been kind of light conversations about Texas Tech and Texas A&M playing at Dickies Arena in November and December for, the last 3 to 5 years, multiple times, and it just didn't ever work out. And so that's what's fascinating but this is actually even better. And obviously you're gonna have to go play in College Station, play in Reed Arena, one of these games, obviously too. But you will get them at home the day after Thanksgiving. And I'm just like, personally, when I heard this news, I'm like, because I missed Thanksgiving with my family this year, and I'm like, well, hell yeah, man, I'll be home for Thanksgiving this year and get a little sports on the side, a little Cowboys on Thursday, Red Raider hoops on a Friday, maybe some Red Raider football on a Saturday. Sign me up. Inject that tryptophan right into my veins right there. You know what I mean?
Might sleep the entire Sunday. I mean,
Yes.
You're going to really have to pace yourself. All of us will have to pace ourselves as we head into that weekend. Yeah, you do have to go play at Reed Arena. I mean, whatever. They can't all be United Supermarkets Arena, but fine. We'll step in there. Hopefully they can get the lights on, and we'll have us a nice dust up. Okay, dust up today on the recruiting front. So pay attention. Stay subscribed. YouTube, anywhere you get podcasts for the latest happening there, whether it's a high school prep level, JUCO ranks, or transfer portal news to come. It's all still out there to happen. So we'll be back with you on the other side to get into whatever goes down between now and our next conversation. Chris, appreciate the time as always, man. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's a busy day. Pay attention out there. And obviously Red Raider hoops going on tomorrow. So we'll be back to kind of cover it, preview it, all that good stuff. Appreciate it. Keep hope alive, everybody. And go hug a fax machine if you see one.
That sounds like a 1960s insult or something. That
go find a museum.
Yeah.
See if there's a fax machine in there. Look at that. What did that do? Well, you put a paper in and a paper comes out somewhere else. It's just crazy.
Your mother hugs fax machines, something along those lines. Okay, nobody specifically am I referencing. All right, for Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you again for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.